Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 25th day of July, and man, have we got a show stacked up here for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not often that I send up a flare like this to alert you, but you need to start paying real attention to this investigation into Hunter Biden's business practices and whether or not the former vice president, now president of the United States, has acted in a way that might lead to impeachment. I mean, that's where we are at this moment. I just need you to refocus, because I know these stories, they have sort of a drip quality to you, and you may get lost along the way. But what I keep telling you is that with every drip, the story gets stronger. The story doesn't get weaker; it gets stronger. The case is being made in a pretty effective way that Joe Biden is not telling us the truth. He's not telling us the truth about his business dealings and Hunter Biden's business dealings, and we already know he's lied to us because he has said on many occasions that he's never been in a meeting, he's never discussed, he's never been involved.
I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
It's not true. And we now have pictures. We now have evidence that indeed, things happen. Phone calls were made, and people were introduced, and there were golf outings, and there were lavish dinners, and all of this stuff seems to point to the direction that, indeed, the President of the United States is lying to you. You want to know another way I know that the President of the United States has been lying to you about all this stuff? Listen to an exchange from yesterday's White House briefing, and notice how, we go from never discussed, never met to a new standard when describing the relationship that the president may have had with his son's business dealings.
Chairman James Comer today says that the Oversight Committee, has evidence that the president in the past communicated directly with foreign business associates of his son Hunter Biden many times. Curious if the White House and the president still stand behind his comment that he's never been involved and has never even spoken to his son about his business.
So I've been asked this question a million times. The answer is not going to change. The answer remains the same. The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
Whoa. She said she's been asked the question a million times and the answer is not going to change, but it just did. She says, she goes from, it was initially, they never met, they never got together, we're very firm on this, nothing has changed. But honestly, listen very carefully to how she hedged and moved the goalpost here.
The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
He was never in business. Well, because what is this? Well, I think it's one of two things. Either it's lawyer directed, that this was the new note that was put in her briefing book, because she looks down, she starts to go another direction, and then she doubles back.
The president was never in.
The president was never, and she's reading now new copy out of the book.
The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
Well, that is not what the answer she has consistently given time and time again. They're hedging. They're moving the goalpost. And there you have, Karine Jean-Pierre, and it got noted. New York Post columnist Miranda Devine remarked, "So we've gone from I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings to the president was never in business with his son. Big difference. Soon they'll be parsing the meaning of in business. The sleight of hand here is not subtle," says Guy Benson. "I get the sense Joe Biden defines business in much the same way that Clinton defined sex," said Federalist senior editor David Hansel. Eric Schmidt, Republican of Missouri, tweeted, "Very precise statement, almost like it came from his lawyers." Goalpost shifting. Goalpost shifting, said McCarthy spokesperson Chad Gilmartin. I guess we'll soon be debating what in business means. I think that's right. We're going to be parsing words now because the lawyers have changed the official statement from the White House, and it is not the same as it has been. There's other stuff coming out today. I mean, there's a plethora of stories that advance the story. From the Federalist, pretty good story. You can find it at yourfarb.com. Joe Biden allegedly interacted with son's clients more than 200 times. Biden vehemently denied ever talking business with his son or with anyone else in the run-up to the 2020 election. On Sunday night, the New York Post reported on anticipated testimony from Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer. The 48-year-old who went golfing with the Bidens in 2014 is expected to tell the House Oversight Committee how Hunter Biden put his father in contact with foreign business and potential investors at least 24 times. According to the Post, such meetings were either in person or by speakerphone, with Hunter Biden often dialing in Joe. Beyond those meetings, there are more than 180 other episodes where the president interacted with his son's business partners. There's mention of a 2015 dinner in Georgetown. And a lot of people were at Cafe Milano. I could never afford to go to Cafe Milano when I lived in D.C. West Wing visits. Visitors' logs show Hunter Biden's business associates visit the White House at least 80 times while Joe Biden was vice president, according to Fox News. One such visit included a pair of Mexican businessmen who visited the West Wing on February 26, 2014, and were later photographed in the press briefing room with the vice president and his son. Another meeting with the vice president at the time included two Chinese businessmen connected to a firm that Hunter Biden was invested in. Naval Observatory. See, the vice president lives at the Naval Observatory. Just, right down Connecticut Avenue. Hunter Biden's diary shows more than 100 events at the vice president's residence while living at the Naval Observatory, according to the New York Post. Photographs from the same day as one meeting on the calendar for November 19th, 2015, feature Mexican billionaires Carlos Slim and Miguel Alemán Velasco. Hunter Biden spent years leveraging White House perks to pursue business deals with Carlos Slim. And there's more. But all told, the Federalist says there are 220 times that Joe Biden actually interacted. So now you understand why they're changing their official wording on this.
The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
It went from, well, I never, in a million years, no, I never had meetings.
I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
Just not true. And now the White House is changing its language to catch up with the fact that we now have a lot of evidence, thanks to the whistleblowers, thanks to the Republicans that are doing these investigations. We now have a ton of information that suggests that indeed he did meet on a regular basis. More. Here's another drip. When the Pittsburgh FBI office briefed the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office on evidence implicating Hunter and Joe Biden in a bribery scheme, the agents told the Delaware team they had already corroborated several aspects of the confidential human source claim from that 1023 document. An individual familiar with the briefing told the Federalist. That's right, this 1023, they were told, well, you can't ask any questions about the big guy. You can't go after this, and you can't do that. Well, at one point, apparently, the FBI They said, well, it's too late. We've already done some of that. Well, what happened to that information? Where did that go? After you find it and then you confirm it, how do you then ignore it? The Federalist has now learned the Pittsburgh FBI office had corroborated several details contained in the FD 1023 document as part of the intake process that former Attorney General William Barr established before the election under the leadership of the Western District of Pennsylvania, then U.S. Attorney Scott Brady. So they had some evidence already locked up. Well, if you've got, listen, just put this together for a moment. If you've got the whistleblowers now speaking to members of Congress, and they have the inside scoop on all of this, what else have they told the House Oversight Committee? What else have they told? And remember, Devin Archer is about to walk in and give his, I think it's going to be a week from yesterday, he's going to walk in and give a full statement. Devin Archer was the BFF of Hunter Biden. He was there. He knows this stuff. And between the FBI, the IRS whistleblowers, one IRS whistleblower, two IRS whistleblowers, and one FBI whistleblower, and Devin Archer, it's starting to close in. Devin Archer knows where the bodies are buried. And Nancy Mace was talking about this yesterday. Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
Now, look, Devin Archer is Hunter Biden's BFF. He knows where all the bodies are buried, and I believe that his testimony will be compelling enough to show that Joe Biden was in the room during much of these discussions, during much of these deals. And my question for Joe Biden today is, if you did nothing wrong, why lie about it? And we got to get to the bottom of this. We got to get to the truth. And we have to show the American people as much evidence as possible, whether that's witnesses, documents, tapes, recordings, etc., so that they'll believe our investigation and what we've uncovered so far. I can't speak for Devin Archer and can only interpret, what he presents to us in his testimony next week when we do get that interview recorded and transcribed. I can't begin to think of what his reasons might be. I do hope that it's to get to the truth. What we've uncovered so far, whether it's suspicious activity reports or a bipartisan panel of IRS whistleblowers last week who illustrated that the IRS covered up potential crimes by Hunter Biden, we got to get to the bottom of it. We have to show the truth, and we have to show every piece of evidence we have. And my message today is to any whistleblower out there, whether you were tied into Burisma or any of Hunter Biden's business deals, or you are an agent of the federal government, we will protect you if you're able to come forward and share the information that you have. We have to tell the truth and show the truth, all the truth to the American people.
All right, so now there is another new development that I need to share with you. It has to do with the position now being taken by the current Speaker of the House with regard to how this should go forward. And he's using the I word. It's all coming up after this commercial break. 3:20 now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, a couple of things. Number one, we've had an awful lot of rain of late, and you may be seeing some our waterproofing or structural damage to your home because of it. That's when you see it. Well, if that's the case, you need to reach out to the folks at USS. When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of times, it's a little scary. We're afraid of what we're going to hear when we start digging around. Especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. Could be something that needs to be fixed. Could be a small problem that will become bigger, or it could be nothing at all. Bottom line is, you don't know, and we certainly don't. You don't want to be sold something that you don't need. What you need is peace of mind, and United Structural Systems is the company to give that. Many thousands of 100% satisfied residential customers. And here's what happens. They come out, they take a look at your situation, they give you their best advice, and if you decide to go forward, you don't pay a penny until the work is done, and you are completely satisfied. They've been here in Middle Tennessee for 25 plus years, and they got some employees that were here from the start that are still with the company. Tells you something, doesn't it? Listen, USS. They guarantee their best, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Online at USSTN.com or call this number, 888-488-7855.
An officer in Franklin involved in a shooting, U.S. Marine who was formerly held captive in Russia, now hurt in the war in Ukraine, and child abuse across the nation. Those stories and more coming up at 3:30. I'm Mac Maury here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Over the course of the last few minutes, I've been giving you the story of how things are starting to change and the lies are being revealed. The Biden administration lies. The president, former vice president, and now current president of the United States has lied. He says, I wasn't there. I never discussed. And now there's all kinds of evidence that suggests that indeed he has. And now the White House is even changing their official statement on this, saying, well, he was never in business. All right, now the debate will be over. Well, what do you mean by business? But here's the thing. Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, is doing something he has not done before. He's dropping the I-bomb.
When President Biden was running for office, he told the American public that he's never talked about business. He said his family has never received $1 from China, which we now proved is not true. We now have some of the most credible whistleblowers. These 10-year IRS agents who have come forward said that the Biden family has been treated differently, that what Weiss has told us is different than what Garland and Weiss has told the public. And you're sitting here today where now you have found millions of foreign money, just what the 1023 alleges they did to Biden's family. Now we found that it has funneled through shell companies. If you're sitting in our position today, we would know none of this if Republicans had not taken the majority. We've only followed where the information has taken us. But Hannity,
Mr.
this is
Speaker.
rising to the level of impeachment inquiry, which provides Congress the strongest power to get the rest of the knowledge and information needed. Because this president has also used something we have not seen since Richard Nixon, used the weaponization of government to benefit his family and deny Congress the ability to have the oversight. The Biden family runs, if they say, a company but never had an office and shell companies to be able to pay through. But if they really ran it for foreign countries, why didn't you get money from France, from Germany, from UK? Why does it have to be from China, Romania, in these countries that have real challenges and had problems going through? I believe we will follow this all the way to the end, and this is going to rise to an impeachment inquiry the way the Constitution tells us to do this, and we have to get the answers to these questions.
Yeah, that was the Speaker of the House on Hannity last night. You could hear the music. That means they're ushering him off stage. But it really comes down to this. He says it's reached the level of an impeachment inquiry.
Hannity,
Mr.
this is
Speaker.
rising to the level of impeachment inquiry.
That's big stuff coming from the Speaker of the House, who has not been willing to go that far. He's not been willing to get out ahead of the evidence as it comes in. But the evidence is coming in. And you know, it's the noose basically is tightening. And the whole situation is getting very, 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 very ugly for the Biden family. You've got him already caught in 10 or 20 lies about when he talks about, I never discussed, I never met. Well, we know that is unadulterated. It's very clear he did. And all those phone calls that he was involved with, I'm telling you, somewhere, just trust me on this, somebody's got some of these phone calls. If not our own National Security Agency, because they record everything that happens overseas that comes into the United States. They capture everything. 100% of the phone calls that come in from overseas to the United States are captured and collected. And if it's not our own NSA, it's the Russians. They've got it. Or the Chinese have got it in somewhere, sometime. It'll drop right in there, and it'll show up, and there'll be little doubt about it, and we're going to be able to hear those conversations, I feel certain, before this is all over. So this is getting really, really interesting. I noticed that the speaker said, you know, this is like Nixon. If only somebody had been willing to tell you sometime back that this was like Watergate level stuff. If only there had been somebody in your ear telling, oh, there was. Stay tuned, folks. I'm telling you, it's getting good. 3:30 now on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 93 degrees, and it's going to be a sweltering week here. May catch a scattered shower or thunderstorm here tonight, later this afternoon into the evening. Traffic and weather coming up in about 5 minutes. An active investigation in Tennessee. Channel 4 says that there was an officer-involved shooting in Franklin last night. It happened around 6 o'clock at an apartment complex when a woman told officials that her ex-boyfriend was inside with a gun threatening to commit suicide. The man left his apartment while holding that firearm, and police were standing outside. They responded in self-defense by shooting him and wounding him, and that man later died at Vanderbilt Medical Center. And no word yet on the condition of former U.S. Marine Trevor Reed, the American freed from Russia in a prisoner swap last year, who has been hurt while fighting in Ukraine. Former CIA intelligence officer Daryl Blocker gives more information.
Being in jail for 3 years, he probably learned a lot about Russians and how they think, and he thought maybe combining, his experiences being in custody along with his experience of being a Marine, that would be good and valuable to the Ukrainians, and he probably was.
Right now, pretty much all we know is that he's been evacuated, believed to Germany, where he's still being treated for those injuries. And in Las Vegas, a man and woman now indicted in an alleged case of extreme child abuse. Alex Stone.
It started as a 911 call from a woman hiding in the stockroom of a Las Vegas Walgreens saying she was hiding from her abusive husband. Police say when they went to the couple's apartment, they found 2 of 3 children locked in a dog kennel, malnourished and badly beaten. One child could not walk unassisted. The children apparently were being fed out of a dog bowl. A nurse told police it was the worst case of child abuse she's seen in 13 years. Now that couple, Travis Doss and Amanda Stamper, are facing 41 counts of child abuse and other charges after being indicted by a Las Vegas grand jury.
And that is the latest news. Weather and traffic are next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
So happy to welcome Nashville Golden Coin as a sponsor of this program. In times of market and economic volatility, gold and silver just might be the safe haven you're looking for. Hey, it's Brian Wilson for Nashville Gold and Coin, and if you're looking to buy real, actual, hold it in your hand, gold, silver, or bullion, let me tell you, this is the place I do business. It's the place I recommend. You'll get honest, friendly customer service and a real precious metals education. Now, they also specialize in the buying, selling, and appraising of coins. Do you have any idea how much those old coins you have laying around might be worth? Well, I brought in a few silver coins that I had in a shoebox buried in my sock drawer. And I'm not making this up, turned out to be worth $1,652. Now, whether you're in the market to purchase precious metals or just want to find out what those coins in your closet might be worth, schedule a one-on-one consultation today. Just go to their website to learn more. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline, the senior senator from the state of Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn. Senator, always good to have you on the show. We've got some things I know you want to talk about. Can we start with a couple of things that are on my mind today? Would you mind terribly? Senator?
Yes, you go right ahead. It's good to be with you. Thank you.
Okay, good. Now we got it all figured out. Okay, yeah, okay. So here's my question. I know that anything that's going on right now with the Biden investigation is going on over at the House, not in the Senate. But no doubt you've been paying attention. Everyone in Washington is paying attention to what Congressman Comer is coming up with and the kinds of whistleblower testimony that we've been hearing. It's big news. It's incredibly big news in Washington, D.C. right now. We have the Speaker of the House for the first time last night on Hannity suggesting that maybe this reaches the level of, well, impeachment.
Hannity, this is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry.
Now, do you think that it is the case based on what you've been hearing and what you've been seeing there?
What I do know is this. Tennesseans and the American people are saying, look, we want to find out what happened with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. There's a lot of smoke around this. So what is the truth? And if they did deal for all these many years in influence peddling, if they did deal in foreign business deals and not register as foreign agents, then people want to know this. They want to know what the truth is. And people are very frustrated right now, Brian, with two tiers of justice. Yep. And it doesn't matter what part of the state I'm in. Or, you know, we love doing these telephone town halls, and you'll have several thousand Tennesseans on the phone at the same time, and people are asking questions. The other night with one with Upper East Tennessee, nearly every question had something to do with the two tiers of justice and how it seems to be that the Bidens and the Clintons and their cronies get off. And then you have the IRS under Obama targeting conservative businesses and conservative groups. And now you have the IRS, DOJ, FBI appearing to have been weaponized against a private citizen running for president. And people are saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, we want to get to the bottom of this and just tell us the truth. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've had a Tennessean say to me, why can't the president just come out and say, this is what happened? Why won't he just tell us the truth?
Well, I think because it would be incriminating. That's what I think you're probably going to find. But the other thing is that it does seem that everyone is paying attention to it, and the story. Am I correct, or is it your sense that this story gets stronger each and every day? It's not getting weaker; it's getting stronger. Yeah.
It gets much stronger. Here's a great example: a guy that I know who had voted for Biden. He's a Democrat. He read the Durham report, read a good summary of it, read several different takes on the Durham report. And he told me, he said, you know, I voted for Joe Biden. You know, I supported him. This guy had voted for Hillary Clinton. And he said, but I'm going to tell you something. If I were Donald Trump and they had made up these lies about me and told them every single day for 6 years, and then we find out that indeed he was right and she was wrong, she did this, she paid for it. He said, you know, I might have been going after people more than Donald Trump has. Right. He said, I'm not sure how I would have reacted to that. If they were badgering me and my family every day for 6 years, accusing us of things, we kept saying, we didn't do this. So,
well, you're right. Okay. Well, let me get into some of the things that I know you want to talk about. There's a little thing called the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and that is now wending its way through Congress. What's on your mind with regard to that?
Well, we've worked hard on this for Tennessee, and one of the big things, and this is so important to our folks up at Fort Campbell, our NDAA this year is going to secure a 5.2% pay raise for our men and women in uniform. And interestingly enough, we got this through because we're needing to get this, combat inflation. And nobody wants to talk about the cause of that inflation, but at least we're getting a raise for our men and women in uniform. We're also getting a DOD to update their charts on what the pay system is going to be, that pay table for junior enlisted people. And out at Tullahoma for Arnold Engineering, and that Air Force base, we have $9 million for an additive manufacturing partnership between Oak Ridge and the Air Force Research Lab there at Arnold. And these additive manufacturing concepts and breakthroughs are so important as we look at future weapon components and systems and hypersonics and Space Force. So we were glad to get that plus up and got $10 million for the hypersonics program that is over there. And over at Fort Campbell, everybody knows we have needed to have a new multi-purpose training facility there. So we've got that in the works. We've got $5.5 million for some cyber protection, some firewall protection, some AI-based intrusion detections, and $2.5 million for the planning and design of a new air traffic control tower at Fort Campbell. And your listeners who have served there know how important that is. And we've got $16 million going to Campbell for open system software-based solutions for visual environments for our mill air and our ground vehicles. And this is something the 101st Airborne and the 160th had needed.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's great news for all of those institutions and you know, working the NDAA, bringing home the bacon. I appreciate that. Hey, listen, the other thing you wanted to talk about was a piece of legislation that you're pushing called Kids Online Safety Act.
Yes.
Very quickly, what's that all about?
Oh, this is a piece of legislation that gives parents and kids the tools they need to keep kids safe online. And it also would expose these black box algorithms that send kids down a rabbit hole. If they Google or search one thing on YouTube, it continues to feed them more of that. It may be suicide, eating disorders, whatever. It's bipartisan. 40 senators are co-sponsors of this bill. Senator Blumenthal and I have done this on a bipartisan basis, and it should come out of committee this week.
All right. Well, congratulations on that. I got one more weird question. And I know whenever you are an elected official and the host says, I got a weird question, it makes you a little nervous. But tomorrow, there's going to be a big hearing in the House with regard to UAPs, UFOs. And I look over in the Senate, and I see names like Chuck Schumer. I see names like Marco Rubio. Very serious individuals, bipartisan, who are asking for more information about UAPs and UFOs. You know, I've never heard you say where you are on all of this and whether you think that the government is hiding information or keeping information from Congress.
I think if the government has information, they need to make that information publicly available and answer these questions as to some of these unidentified flying objects that have appeared in so many different places, and no one had quite an answer for why they were there. You know, it could turn out, Brian, that they have been different variations of Chinese spy balloons. You never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being on today here on Super Talk 99.7. Always a pleasure.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Boom, she gone. 47 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. How are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and help you make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. Wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Well, Beacon can provide that. It starts with a simple phone call. Here's the number. Write it down, 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303. Now, the experts at Beacon will take it. They'll get some information from you. They'll carry on from there. You have nothing to lose except for perhaps some of the worry that you've been carrying on your shoulders. Get started today by calling 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path, that all the T's have been crossed and all the I's have been dotted. Again, the number is 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things you hear me talk about frequently on my radio show that has been going for over 20 years in the Nashville market is that annuity sales are not necessarily a great thing for the end investor. Now, if you go to an investment firm, a lot of times you'll get that. The first thing that they recommend, an annuity. Banks and investment firms recommend these for one really good reason. And many times that reason isn't the best thing for you. It's commissions. It's a huge moneymaker for the investing industry. This is why I think it's so important that when you work with an investment advisor, that they not be paid on commission. It creates a huge conflict because it creates an incentive to sell you things that may not be in your best interest. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. We don't do anything on commissions. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
A Marine who was once held captive by Russia, now injured when fighting with Ukraine in their war against Russia. Patients suing Vanderbilt Medical Center for not protecting personal health information. A scary day for LeBron James's family, and Tennessee deputies now facing charges after a traffic stop that was conducted 3 years ago. That and more coming up at 4. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 54 minutes now past the hour. A couple of stories that I want to hit real quick. Number one, Elon Musk is explaining why he changed the name of Twitter to X. I don't know. He says Twitter was acquired by X Corp to ensure freedom of speech as an accelerant for X, something he describes as the everything app. This is not simply a company renaming itself but doing the same thing, Musk explained in a post on Monday night. The Twitter name made sense when it was just 140 characters going back and forth, like birds tweeting, but now you can post almost anything, including several hours of video, and you'll see changes in the days to come. There's Elon Musk explaining what X is going to be. I want to make a note of what's going on with Chevrolet. The GM folks say it would end production of the mainstream Bolt EV models by the end of the year, but they've changed that now. According to the CEO of GM, plans to build a next-generation Bolt follow increased consumer demand for the vehicles after significant price cuts last year that made the vehicles the least expensive EVs in the United States. So there you have all that. Going to the market and getting a look at the market news as the markets have closed. The 12th straight day for a close on the Dow that it was up and in the green. Up 26 points. S&P up 12. NASDAQ is up 85. John Maxon is standing by from Beacon Capital Management to tell us more about other parts of the economy.
Yeah. Hey, Brian. Good to talk to you. The market, as you said, is up again today. And, you know, one of the things, bright spots, I think, for Tennesseans that's out there is, I think you saw this article, Tennessee is now ranked one of the lowest unemployment rates in the United States, 3.2%. We're really blessed to live where we live and to be led by some of the leaders. So that pales in comparison to some of the other states that are out there. But hopefully the market, along with what we're seeing in the state of Tennessee in terms of the advantages we have with our unemployment rate, continues. So 3.2% in Tennessee is pretty good.
What do you think about the fact that the Dow has been up like for the 12 straight days? Seems to be on a pretty good rally, the longest rally since February of 2017, we're told.
I think it's the longest rally. The Dow has been lagging a little bit this year, so it's not surprising the Dow's catching up to some of the other indexes. I think what you're going to see this year, though, or this week, is the Fed's meeting, widely expected to see a quarter-point increase in interest rates. So the question is going to be, can the market hold that? But no doubt the Dow is really on a really good stretch.
All right. Thank you, John Max. And learn more about all the things that they can do for you over at Beacon Capital Management by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is now 3:57 on Super Talk. Or if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltzko are the two guys you need to talk to. I'm talking exceptional quality craftsmanship, fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that's the Stoltzko difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool and work barn, a garage, or even a place to live. Flexibility is key. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. Now, you can hear me talk about it, but you really have got to see what some of these buildings look like, and you can go to the Stoltzko.com. Stoltzko.com. That's STOLTZCO.com, and you'll just be astonished. These ain't your granddaddy's pole barns, I can promise you that. Or you can call them 615-622-5992. Stoltzko, where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. You're going to love what you see at Stoltzko.com.
It's 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 94 degrees today in Music Row. Complete weather and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. An unexpected announcement about an American who had been held by Russia. With details on where he is now, let's go to Im Nguyen.
Trevor Reed, the former U.S. Marine who was freed by Russia last year in a prisoner swap, has been injured while fighting in Ukraine, according to a Biden administration official. That official underlining that Reed was not engaged in any activities on behalf of the U.S. government and that they have been very clear in warning U.S. citizens not to travel to Ukraine. The official went on to say Reed had traveled to Germany where he's receiving medical care. Reed was reportedly injured several weeks ago. A spokesperson for Reed's family declined to comment.
In Tennessee, a lawsuit filed against Vanderbilt University Medical Center. News 2 says that 2 patients at the hospital are suing as they are claiming that their personal health information was not protected properly. Vanderbilt Medical provided health information of over 100 patients of the transgender clinic after the Tennessee Attorney General requested it. Patients were notified that their information was shared months after it had already happened. And most of the people who had their information shared were state employees or relatives of state employees. And the son of NBA legend LeBron James is recovering after suffering cardiac arrest while practicing with the USC basketball team. Alex Stone.
Bronny James is now in stable condition, according to his family, who says LeBron James's son suffered cardiac arrest while working out with the USC basketball team on Monday morning, and that initially he was in the ICU, but has since been stabilized. The LA Fire Department says it had a medical call in the area where the team was practicing and that the patient was transported to a hospital. Bronny James has been a rising star in the world of college basketball and the future of USC's basketball program, with many believing, like his dad, he'll end up in the NBA.
Right now in Tennessee, 2 deputies in Lawrence County are facing charges after allegedly beating a 61-year-old man and covering it up with false reports. This incident happened in 2020 during a traffic stop when officers are alleged to have thrown the man to the ground and hit his head against the pavement. The man says that his license was expired, but that he did not violate any other laws and did not resist authority. And if convicted, these 2 officers can be in prison from anywhere to 10 to 20 years. In some entertainment news, the Barbenheimer box office phenomenon continues with more records and more milestones. Here's Jason Nathanston.
Did you bring your rollerblades?
Barbie continuing to roll to big numbers at the box office, taking in $26 million on Monday, the best Monday of all time in Warner Brothers history. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight was the previous WB champ, figures not adjusted for inflation. Barbie's expected to pass the $200 million mark at the North American box office Tuesday. And speaking of Christopher Nolan,
you are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves.
His hit Oppenheimer will break the $100 million barrier Tuesday.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Into the second hour of the drive. Glad that you're with us here on Tuesday, the 25th day of July. I'm Brian Wilson on the air and in the chair. And we're going to bring you all kinds of news and information. If you missed our take on where we are with the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden investigation, there are new developments that you need to know about. This thing's starting to heat up, and we'll get into that again at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. So you want to hang around for that, because I'm telling you, there are new developments, and it's beginning to look bad for the President of the United States. And we have a Speaker of the House who, for the very first time last night on the Sean Hannity show, said, well, that this may actually lead to an impeachment investigation. The first time that the Speaker of the House has used the I word to discuss what might happen. So the drip, drip, drip is getting pretty good here, and there are new developments, and we'll get into that at 5 o'clock. In the meantime, I want to talk about the 2024 campaign and what that all means, and that means it's time for our 2020 campaign update, which needs, of course, the proper music. It's not done an update without the music. Well, let's start. 1/4 of Democrats, as they look forward to 2024, say that they have doubts about Joe Biden's mental fitness. Only a quarter. 1/4 of Democrats have doubts about Joe Biden's mental fitness, according to July's Harvard-Harris survey. Across the board, most registered voters have doubts about the president's mental fitness, compared to 41% who say he's mentally fit to serve as president of the United States. Are they watching? Are they paying any attention, that 41%? I don't know. Predictably, 85% of Republicans have doubts about the 80-year-old's mental fitness, compared to 15% who do not. 15% who do not. Most independents, 71%, say that they doubt his ability to carry out the job, as do nearly a quarter of Democrats. So just to make sure we got this. 85% of Republicans, 71% of independents, and a quarter of Democrats. Further, 68% across the board said Biden is showing that he's too old to be president, compared to 32% who believe he's fit to be commander-in-chief. That should be to be president. While 54% of Democrats believe he is showing he is fit to be president, 43% disagree. So not looking good. His support is, I always say about Democrat support for Joe Biden right now, it's about a mile wide and an inch deep. In other words, they will always support the nominee because they are the party faithful. And when you ask the party faithful, they're always going to, yeah, he's our guy, until he isn't. I stand by my prediction, and it's the only prediction that I've made about 2024 thus far, and it's that the nominee of the Democrats will not be Joe Biden. Said that to a group of people the other day, and they all looked at me like, really? You really believe that? I said, I really do believe that. I really believe that as he continues to stumble and bumble and deteriorate, and his mind is slowly going, no matter how they try to protect him, no matter how they try to cover up for him, there's going to be something that happens that's going to draw the line, and Americans are going to go, I don't know. Maybe it's the investigation. Maybe the investigation gets so hot and heated. Come back with me at 5 o'clock, and I'll explain why that might be. But maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing that changed. But one way or the other, I just don't think the power brokers of the Democrat Party, the people with the real power and the real money, are going to stand around and allow Joe Biden to be the nominee if they think he's going to get beat. And they know Kamala's not the answer. Everybody's certain of that. So how they engineer it, not clear. What happens? What is the deciding factor? There will be a thing. I don't know what it is. I can't predict what it will be, but there will be a thing, because just look at the guy. He's unable to function most of the time. Certainly not fit to be president of the United States, as this story has suggested. Many people have their doubts. Even a quarter of of yellow dog Democrats. New Iowa, South Carolina polls are good news for Trump and bad news for DeSantis. All right, I'm going to just pretty much read through this story, the Washington Examiner. First thing to note, let's see. There are two new polls, one from Fox Business, that shed light on the status of the Republican race in Iowa and South Carolina. The Iowa survey of 806 caucus goers found that former President Donald Trump would pick up about 46% of the vote. Governor Ron DeSantis would be 30 points behind with 16% of the vote. In a development that is attracting a lot of attention, Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, is in third place with 11%, just 5 points behind DeSantis. Behind the top three are Vivek Ramaswamy at 6, Nikki Haley at 5, former Vice President Mike Pence at 4, Doug Burgum and Chris Christie at 3, and Asa Hutchinson and Francis Suarez each at 1. So, Donald Trump doing pretty well, but some interesting movement in the lower ranks of this race. In South Carolina, out of 808 primary voters, Trump is in the lead with 48% of the vote, while a former South Carolina Governor Haley, not DeSantis, is in second place with 14%, but that's her home state. DeSantis is in third place with 13%. After that comes Scott with 10%, Pence with 4%, Ramaswamy with 3%, Christie with 2%, and Hutchinson with 1%. So, again, Donald Trump in pretty good position, but in South Carolina, the number 2 person is not, according to this poll, DeSantis, it is Haley. So, look, I'm telling you, you've got to stay alive. You've got to win one or the other. I think that for someone to break out of the pack, they've got to do okay in Iowa. Trump will win Iowa, but they got to do okay in Iowa, and they got to make a very strong showing in South Carolina. So, again, how that'll all play out, I don't know. Two important points about the poll is that Trump's numbers in Iowa and South Carolina mirror his numbers nationwide. You've heard many analysts point out that national polls are interesting, but it's important to remember the GOP race is a series of state contests, very true, beginning with Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. Now it appears the Trump lead nationally does reflect his lead in two important early states. Trump's standing in the Real Clear Politics average of national polls is now 51.8. His lead over the second-place Republican DeSantis is 33 points. I mean, it's really Trump's to lose right now on the Republican side of the equation. But who comes in strong? Can things start to change? Listen, anything is possible, but the betting money would be on Trump as the Republican nominee. By the way, Romney of Utah, Mitt Romney, I know there are people, ooh, when you say his name, called on Republican donors to urge non-competitive GOP presidential candidates to drop out of the race by February, so former President Trump cannot run against a crowded field. Opponents of Trump have consistently worried a crowded primary field could hand the contest to Trump, who has a big lead. Wall Street Journal op-ed Romney suggests party donors should urge candidates whose paths to the nomination are effectively closed to drop out of the race by February of 2024. There are incentives for no-hope candidates to overstay their prospects, but that's the game that Mitt Romney is playing right now. Money may be getting tight for Ron DeSantis. From Politico.com. DeSantis lets go of more than one-third of his campaign staff as resets continue. The cuts, which were confirmed by advisors, will amount to a total of 38 jobs shed across an array of departments. The expanded cuts are the latest sign that the Florida governor's team is pivoting to slim down operation amid concerns over finances. The campaign announced it had raised $20 million during the second quarter of this year, but it already spent a good chunk of that money. Much of the sum it raised, moreover, came from donors who had given the maximum amount and cannot give again. According to recent federal filings, the campaign counted on 90-plus staffers on its payroll through the end of June. During a donor retreat in Deer Valley, Utah last week, Peck acknowledged that the campaign had overspent in some areas and that further adjustments would need to be made. Advisors also had outlined plans for DeSantis, who's been criticized for overseeing a bloated operation, to reposition himself as an insurgent underdog. So DeSantis trimming staff, never a good sign, as you have a long way to go in this game. By the way, in case you have not heard, DeSantis was in Chattanooga this morning and was in a car crash. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in a car crash Tuesday morning while on his way to a campaign event in Chattanooga. He is uninjured, his spokesman said. This morning, the governor was in a car accident. He and his team are uninjured. Further information about the wreck was not immediately available, but it happened in what they call a short caravan of 4 cars, I guess with the police escort, I'm not sure. But one way or the other, a little car wreck there. Everybody's going to be all right. 2024. Now, Republican side, it is increasingly looking as if it's going to be very, very hard to stop Donald Trump. One of the things that is sort of interesting about Trump is every time you come at him, every time you say, okay, he's going to have another charge, it's another investigation, every bit of bad news that ever happens to Donald Trump, it seems to only make those people on the Republican side of the equation glom onto him in a stronger way. They continue to go. Nothing has dissuaded them that Donald Trump is not the answer. So I think it's Donald Trump. I don't know how anybody else catches up. I think really, honestly, I don't want to say it's a little too early to say this, but it's beginning to feel like that the other candidates are running for running mate. That's what it feels like. So I don't know. But on the Democrat side of the equation, I don't think that Biden is putting together a campaign in an effective way. They don't seem to be hiring people. It's almost as if there's another shoe to drop there. We just can't quite figure out what it is. And it may be that he just sort of gets run out of the race because the drip, drip, drip of the Biden investigation into the Biden family syndicate is really heating up. And as I said, if you missed it, I'll get back into all of that at 5:05 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. The Wellness Institute of Nashville. Listen, they got a thing over there. I'm big on it called non-surgical spinal decompression. Maybe you've heard of it. And if you have pain in your arms, your legs, your neck, your back, you have a tingling in your extremities, and these kind of things can be made better through the application of this non-surgical spinal decompression. I've gone through 24 treatments of it, and I've found it to be very helpful on my neck and my lower back. Listen. If you are interested in losing the pain, why don't you take advantage of the 2023 special, an exam, consultation, X-rays if needed, or you can bring in an MRI. You sit down and review all this with Dr. Mitchell, and he will come up with a diagnosis and your custom healing recovery plan, which will be discounted by 50%. Here's how you get started. Just call this number, 615-246-5009. Set up your first appointment, 615-246-5009. Now, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley Mitchell now offer the first of its kind KT machine, sort of like spinal decompression, but it's aimed at knee problems. It gently elongates the knee and joint and allows the meniscus or the cartilage to receive the healing treatment without the need for surgery or painkillers. 615-246-5009. Learn more about all the things they can do for you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville by going to their website, painisbad.com.
A rule change from the White House concerning mental health care, a tentative deal with UPS workers, and today's money news. Those stories coming up 4:30. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, Mac Morey in the newsroom, Chris Weber in the control room. I'm Brian Wilson from bucolic Watertown, bringing you news and information you can use. Every time she opens her mouth, it sort of gets more and more ridiculous. I'm speaking, of course, about Hillary Clinton. Yeah, she's at it. She's at it again. Make no doubt about it. She is posting on social media, and she says, are you ready? If you think it's hot outside, thank a MAGA Republican. She blames Republicans, she being Hillary Clinton. She blames Republicans about the cause of global warming, and therefore, she's confused, temperature with climate. I don't know. But it came in response to a tweet from left-wing think tank Center for American Progress, which said that MAGA Republicans are pouring fuel onto the climate crisis fire. The post included an image of recent media stories highlighting the recent high spate of high temperatures in the U.S. It's summer. It's July. Dear Lord, folks. And how the Republicans voted against a $739 billion climate package, which I'm glad they did. Hot enough for you? Thank a MAGA Republican, or better yet, vote them out of office, says Hillary Clinton. One other thing, and this came out yesterday, and it just nearly got by me. You know that the Biden White House, they want to take away your gas stove. They want to take away anything that you have that is powered by fossil fuel, and that apparently now includes the next appliance on their hit list is the water heater.
On appliances. So from this administration, we've seen them go after gas stoves, air conditioning units with regulation, refrigerators, washing machines, dishwashers, now water heaters. How many more home appliances will Americans eventually have to replace then because of regulation?
So just to be clear, when it comes to water heaters, and it is proposed, what has been put forward, and if it is enacted, it would not take it into effect until 2029.
Yeah, and she's not saying it's not true. She just said, well, it's just a proposal, but, if it were enacted, it wouldn't be till 2029. I don't care. Let the market make the decision. I have a gas water heater. I like it. In fact, all the things that in my house that run on natural gas, I really like. I like my heater system. I like, but they're doing everything they can to make changes to these appliances. And universally, it seems to me, when government gets involved in messing in with things that belong in your house, it does not go well. I mean, these are the people who gave us a dishwasher that won't actually clean dishes. These are the people who gave us a low-flow toilet. And I'm telling you, in my house, the plunger can't be very far away because it's needed a lot. I don't think we need to know that, do we? But I'm telling you, everything that they do, it turns out to be a mess. And they were talking about this, that, and the other, and now apparently a confirmation that indeed the Democrats want to take away your natural gas water heater, which makes your water hot, right? It works. It does what it's supposed to do. But if they have their way, it won't be for long. The process will begin. You see what will happen if they get this pushed through. It's a proposal, they say, just a proposal. Well, I'm hoping the proposal gets shot down in the same way that some of these other things got shot down. Tell them, I don't want you messing with my stuff. I like my stuff the way it is. Ideally, the market works best when consumers are making choices that are in their best interest. And they go and say, I want this because it works for me. That ought to be the only determining factor. But now government getting involved and telling me, you got to drive electric cars and you got to have all your appliances have got to be, electric. They can't be natural gas. We're going to do away with using natural gas in every way that we can. And I say, okay, if you want to have that fight, I think I know where the American people will land, and not with you. 4:30 now on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 4:30. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 94 degrees in Music City and a hot week ahead. Full forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. A rule change. President Biden took steps today to make mental health care as easy to access as physical health care. The newly implemented rules would require insurers to clear up some things on how mental health coverage is decided. And at the White House, Karen Travers tells us this is to enforce legislation already on the books.
What they're trying to do here is close this gap in the healthcare system where it's easier to get physical health care but not mental health care. There's actually a 2008 law in the books that said there has to be parity for those two things. One shouldn't be any easier than the other, but it hasn't been enforced. And insurers, according to the White House, have been able to evade that law and continue making it difficult for Americans to get the mental health treatment that they need.
And UPS and the Teamsters said they reached a tentative deal on a new contract. The labor deal is still subject to a ratification vote by more than 300,000 workers. The preliminary agreement includes wage increases for both full and part-time workers. And now over to the money news, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks rally on Wall Street as the earnings season kicks into high gear. The Dow added 27 points, the S&P gained 13, and the Nasdaq closed 86 points higher. All eyes on after-hours reportings from two tech giants. Google's parent company, Alphabet, reported a second-quarter net income of more than $18 billion, results that are fueled by steady demand for cloud services and a rebound in advertising. Alphabet also announcing longtime Chief Financial Officer Ruth Porat would assume a new role as President and Chief Investment Officer. Microsoft reports a fourth-quarter profit of $20 billion thanks to a 26% revenue growth in its cloud services. And the Conference Board says consumer confidence has increased to its highest level in 2 years. That'll be one of the economic indicators the Fed Board will consider tomorrow when it decides whether to raise interest rates.
And that is the latest news, traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, let me tell you about King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood. Over 25 years in the business as an independent agent. That's a big advantage for you. Here's why. Number one, because they're an independent agency, they take a real interest in every one of their clients. So when you call, for example, this number, 615-329-8121, you don't reach a call center. You don't reach a phone tree. You don't get a message saying, we'll get back to you. Your call is important to us. No, you'll get an actual person every time. And then the other reason it's a good reason for you to do business with them is they can shop around. They're independent. They can look for the very best deal, the insurance that meets your specific needs. So you get the most bang for your insurance buck. Multi-policy discounts can lead to huge savings. You can save as much as 20, 25, 30, 35%. So get your royal review with King & Associates Insurance. Just log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, you'll get royal treatment and really good rates. It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson on the air and in the chair. Glad that you're with us on this Tuesday. We're going to open up the phone lines at 615-737-9986. And my question is, how do you feel about this movement in so many different businesses to make you check out your goods and bag them yourself? How do you, I mean, you used to be that you got customer service when you went to a store and you had people that helped and and they bagged your groceries. But now apparently it's all going to change in some places. Here, I bring to your attention this story from Franklin, Tennessee. I found this on Channel 4's website. Those frequenting Kroger in Franklin will now have to shop for their groceries and bag them themselves. Kroger 2020 Mallory Lane has converted to all self-checkout with the addition of new wide belt lanes that can accommodate large volume purchases. The grocery chain said the self-checkout machines look a lot like a regular cashier staff checkout lane with bagging stations at the end. So you'll have to buy your groceries, you'll have to scan them yourselves, and you'll have to pack them if you go to the Kroger at 2020 Mallory Lane. One other store in Hillsborough Village will convert to self-checkout later this year, according to a Kroger representative. But the people I talked to, say that that's the one thing that they really dislike. They dislike this whole idea intensely. How do you feel about these self-checkout options when you go to, it doesn't have to be Kroger. It can be anywhere. 615-737-9986. I can tell you that I get my back up at a couple of things. Number one, okay, if I go to, listen, I'm telling you the other one that drives me crazy, and, I go there a lot, for stuff when I can't find it in my local hardware store. I have to go to Lowe's, and, sometimes I get to Lowe's and there is absolutely no human being checking people out. I mean, there's a lot of employees, but none of them are checking out actual customers. And you end up, having to go into the little thing there, and I don't know. It seems to me I struggle. I can never get everything to work just like it's supposed to work. But then I'll tell you, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to check myself out, then do not stop me at the door. Okay? I've done everything that is required of me to purchase these goods, and I don't want to be stopped by the security people and asked to see my receipt. I paid. And if you got a problem with that, then, I'll just let you take this stuff back. How do you feel about it? 615-737-9986. It's happening full-time at Kroger. No doubt this is a trend we're going to see around the country. Mike in Murfreesboro. Mike, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Mike?
Good afternoon, Brian. I got a little insight on this. Back in the early 2000s, when I moved to Tennessee, I was the installation manager for the new self-checkouts coming into town. What people don't realize, and it's the same thing that happened years and years ago when the automobile first overtook the horse and buggy, where they say that the automobile is going to do away with the blacksmith. Well, the blacksmith, learned a new skill and was able to work on the new cars. The same way here, these self-checkouts bring far better jobs, better paying jobs to these stores than any regular cashier or regular cash register can do.
Well, hold on. If I am doing the work, shouldn't I be, as the customer, the person getting the break? In other words, are my groceries going to be cheaper because I'm checking out? Well, that's one thing that adds to my motivation, but I don't think that's the case.
The employees that are kind of taken away from checking out your groceries are put in other departments of the store, more in higher paying departments, for instance.
That's good for them. But what about the idea of serving your customer?
Let me ask you this, you're old enough to remember when the gas attendant came out, cleaned your windshield, pumped your gas.
Yes, I do.
In your tire. Are you mad because they don't do that anymore?
Yes, I am, quite frankly, but that's a whole different story. Mike, I appreciate your input there. Thank you. I got a lot of calls. Let's get through some of them. David in Hendersonville. David, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, David?
Well, I think if I live in Hendersonville and our store there, they put 2 of those lanes in. And I get so frustrated going in there. They'll have one person will be checking people out, and there'll be lines going down the aisles because everybody's trying to check out their own stuff. I'm going to back you up here because,
depending on which store it is, if it's a grocery store, I probably don't have any real questions. But many times when I'm checking out, I have a question that I need answered in that process. And if there's only one person, then I can't go to the automatic checkout lane. I can't do that because I need to get the answer. And now I'm stuck in that line waiting on and with 7 other people in front of me. I get your point.
You're right. They should, our groceries, they should drop. We're doing their work for them. They're not paying employees to do it anymore, so they should drop our prices.
All right, David, thank you. John in Ashland City. John, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you think about this?
When I go to Kroger or Walmart, if there's no checkout, I've left my full buggy, just walk right on out.
You just walk right on by. Yeah.
I walked right on out. Just left the buggy. Y'all can put it up.
Yeah. All right, John. Well, thank you for that. And I'm not picking on Kroger. Kroger just happens to be the hook for this particular story because, so much of what we're hearing is that this is going to be the way it is in so many different places. I note it's interesting that they're going in Franklin to try this, which is a low crime area, as their experiment. This is sort of interesting, isn't it? How about Suzanne in Brentwood? Suzanne, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Hey, Brian. Well, I'm so glad you're talking about this because I am so opposed to self-checkout. I go to Kroger, I go to Walmart, and if they see me coming, they don't want me in the self-checkout because I spend so much time asking questions or messing something up. I'm a people person. I want a real person. No, I hate it, and no one should do it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Suzanne. I appreciate you joining us with that opinion. Marlene in Smyrna. Marlene, you're on with Brian on the drive.
All right. Thank you very much, Suzanne.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, turn down your radio if you would and go ahead.
Okay, I want to know who they asked or polled to determine that this is a good idea. Like, what is their motivation? Because it certainly isn't me as the customer. I work hard all day, and when I go to the grocery store, I want it to be sort of an experience where I'm treated, not that I have to work. Also, I want to know who's paying for the lost items. I've been to some places where I've seen people, like, hide things under the buggy and leave. Who's going to be responsible for the cost of their losses? Will that be passed on to the consumer? And my last thing is, where is the money that they're saving, making me bag my own groceries? Who's getting that money? It's certainly not a discount on my food. Thanks.
Yeah, listen, if you're giving me a discount on food and you say, look, we understand, we're asking you to do a little work here. So, you're going to bag and you're going to check out your own stuff. And we're going to we're going to lower your prices on your goods. Well, and then I would say, okay, it might be worth it. But I don't get the impression that that's going to happen. I think it goes to the bottom line, and I maybe you share some more of it with your employees, and you pay them a little better. I don't know, but one way or the other, I have a choice when I spend my dollars. And I can make the decision about where I want to go. And I'm going to increasingly go places where I can get customer service. That's just the way it is. I think you're right. There are going to be some losses. Now, does that then increase the cost of your food because they don't have checkout people and they're not watching as closely? They start to lose money. Do they pass it on to you, the consumer? Yeah, probably so. Justin in Franklin. You're on with Brian on the drive. Hello, Justin. What do you think?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm well.
So, all of the callers have got a very valid point about, goods that are missing or, where are the people going to go and all that stuff. But if you've ever been to, like, a Sam's Club or a Costco, you can literally check yourself out as you put stuff in the cart. And then you just walk right out. The guy scans your little barcode on your phone, takes a couple of barcodes of the goods that you have in the grocery store, and there is no waiting in line. So I think if Kroger's going to do something like this, then they need to get with 2023 and implement something like Sam's and Costco has, because I think it's great. And you scan your stuff out, you put it in the cart, you walk through the little scanners that have the arrows on the ground, and you're done.
Except that, what if you forget to scan or you choose not to scan?
Well, liars and thieves don't get very far, but, accidents do happen, and that's just something that they'll have to figure out.
I've seen those kinds of places. Justin, I really have seen those kind of places. It just, to me, again, it's more work for me. I just want to go and do it the way I've always done it. It's not because I'm stuck in my old ways. It's because I really do appreciate the customer service and the bagging of my groceries. That saves me a lot of time. And it seems like to me, if I'm coming to your store to spend my money, then I expect a certain level of customer service. Or if I'm choosing not to have that level of customer service, then I should get something in return. And for me, that would be the lower cost of the goods and services that I'm buying. All right, we got time for one more, maybe. Here, one more. Marvin in Hendersonville. Marvin, very quickly, your our last thought on this.
Well, I disagree with them for the simple fact it hurts our workforce altogether. I mean, think about your high school kids out there looking for a part-time job after school. Used to be able to have carry-outs at grocery stores and things like that. It teaches them the work ethic, the responsibility of a job and everything. You're literally taking those jobs away, and that's what's hurting our workforce today.
Well, thank you very much for that. And by the way, that reminded me, one of my very first jobs, I was a grocery store bagger. I used to bag groceries. And
how'd that work out for you?
Well, it worked out okay. And then I got moved up to shelving clerk.
So you were stock boy.
I was a stock boy. Yeah, shelving clerk.
Well, just to be clear, and I think you mentioned it, Brian, but no jobs were lost in this change.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
They'll move them into different things. But, that's a game that you can play through attrition. People leave, you just don't fill some of the slots, right? I don't know what that means. I hope it means that nobody loses their job. But what I do hope is that that people will, if they don't want this kind of service, that they'll let it be known, because I'm telling you, you can vote with your feet. And a lot of people will, I think, as this thing goes forward. I hope we're not to the point where this becomes the official way it's done, because then it will mean the end of customer service as we know it. 51 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things you hear me talk about frequently on my radio show that has been going for over 20 years in the Nashville market is that annuity sales are not necessarily a great thing for the end investor. Now, if you go to an investment firm, a lot of times you'll get that. The first thing that they recommend, an annuity. Banks and investment firms recommend these for one really good reason. And many times that reason isn't the best thing for you. It's commissions. It's a huge moneymaker for the investing industry. This is why I think it's so important that when you work with an investment advisor, that they not be paid on commission. It creates a huge conflict because it creates an incentive to sell you things that may not be in your best interest. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. We don't do anything on commissions. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Mental problems may soon cost the same to fix as your physical ones. Former President Donald Trump miles ahead early on in the polls, and Tennessee deputies facing charges after an allegedly violent traffic stop. Those stories and more coming up at 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, listen, very quickly, our temperature right now, 92 degrees. But in Phoenix, they've had temperatures reaching 119 degrees in recent days. And then there's this thing that, the asphalt can be 60 degrees hotter than the air. So you add 60 degrees, so that's 179 degrees that the asphalt is. People are falling, and when they hit the ground, even though they may be down for just a short while, they're getting first, second, and third degree burns from the asphalt, and have end up in burn units. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty tough. It takes only a fraction of a section to get a pretty deep burn. So, the word to the wise, don't fall on hot asphalt if you can help it. It's now 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. What is EverSeal? Well, talking about your concrete, it's a sealant for concrete and for wood. It really is remarkable. It actually started out in industrial applications. And folks figured out, EverSeal figured out how to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. It starts with a deep cleaning that goes all the way down to make your wood or concrete look just as new as it possibly can look. And then they add their patented seal, which absorbs all the way through to become a permanent part of your wood and concrete and prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. That's something right there. Many homeowners report paying the same for superior seal that lasts a lifetime. It's backed by a 25-year manufacturer warranty, so you can save it by sealing it once, and you are done. Think about how much money you'll save over the years. How many times do you do this on an annual basis? I mean, maybe you do your deck every year like most people do. Just think about that. And if it sounds like something you want to explore, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't, call Steve Nelson and the team over at EverSeal. Here is the number, 1-844-EVER-USA. Again, 844-EVER-USA. And you can learn more by going to their website, ever-seal.com.
It's 5:01. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 93 degrees in Music City, and that sun will be around all week. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. Many private health insurance companies don't offer the same coverage for mental health as they do for physical problems. Today, President Biden announced plans to change that. Andy Field has details.
President Biden says many insurance companies have found ways around a 15-year-old law requiring them to cover mental health issues. Mr. Biden says it's making it impossible for some to afford care.
Seeing a therapist can cost $200 a visit or more. That's $800 a month.
So the president's trying to change enforcement, which would then make insurers follow the law and treat mental and physical health insurance payments equally.
In a new poll from Monmouth University, former President Donald Trump remains the clear favorite among Republican voters, and only a minority believe the criminal indictments against Trump will hurt him in the general election. Im Nguyen has the latest.
In the race for the White House, former President Donald Trump is by far the frontrunner among Republican voters by more than 30 points, according to a new national poll by Monmouth University. Only 1 in 4 Republican voters said they were concerned that Trump's criminal indictments make him a weaker candidate against President Biden. Almost half of Republican voters said they were not at all concerned. The least popular Republican candidates are 3 who arguably have said the most negative things about Trump: former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, former Vice President Mike Pence, and former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson.
Right now in Tennessee, 2 deputies in Lawrence County are facing charges after allegedly beating a 61-year-old man and covering it up with false reports. The incident happened back in 2020 during a traffic stop when officers are alleged to have thrown this man to the ground and hit his head against the pavement. The man says that his license was expired at the time, but that he did not violate any other laws and did not resist the authority. And if convicted, these 2 officers could be in prison from anywhere to 10 to 20 years. In New York, authorities on Long Island are wrapping up their search of the home of the suspect in the Gilgo Beach serial murders. Derek Dennis.
The exhaustive search of the cluttered home and property of suspect Rex Heuermann in the murders of 3 women sex workers and possibly a 4th or even more has ended, but not the investigation, says Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney.
And now it's up to the job of the task force to go through that evidence.
A cache of 279 guns recovered, only about a third with permits, found in a massive vault in Heuermann's house. But the big question still unanswered: did any of the murders Heuermann is charged with happen inside the house? Authorities wouldn't say. Heuermann has pleaded not guilty and is being held without bond.
And here in the volunteer state, Tennessee is about to experience back-to-back sales tax holidays. The traditional sales tax holiday on clothing, school supplies, and computers is set for this weekend. It begins at 12:01 a.m. on Friday, and then it will end on Sunday night at around midnight. And the 3-month sales tax holiday on groceries will begin August 1st at 12:01, and that will end October 31st. And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
8 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and I am so happy that you have joined the drive for this 25th day of July. Get you home safely. Have some things that you can talk about. Listen, I'm telling you, get ready. The Biden news, the Biden investigation is heating up, and I'm going to get to that in just a half a second. But first, Chris was just reading to me off the super text line. Somebody who had a different opinion about the self-checkout lanes we were talking about. Yeah, read me this one. It's really good.
Yeah, they did. 8565 says, the listeners are lucky I couldn't call in. I'd trigger all of them. I love self-checkouts. I don't have to deal with people. I'm in and out as I want. It's clean, peaceful, and soulless. Wonderful. All your callers that were anti-self-checkout sounded older. They need to ride their horse and buggy or Model T back to the farm and get out of the next generation's way.
Oh, all right, you young whippersnapper. We'll see how that plays out. Well, I want to talk about what's going on with Joe Biden and the investigation into the Biden family syndicate, because I'm telling you, it is getting very interesting. Now, one thing I need you to know is that Hunter Biden will be in court tomorrow. And, you know, what he's been left with is a slap on the wrist. There's a question about whether or not the judge will go along with the deal that has been cut. It's obviously a sweetheart deal that they just negotiated, and they just, whittled and waited and dragged this thing out until there wasn't anything left because the statute of limitations had expired. And it appears that the entire Department of Justice and FBI was working to make sure that nothing really serious happened to Hunter Biden, because his last name is Biden and his dad has a big D right behind his name. That's going to happen. It is possible that there will be the judge will challenge the recommendations in the plea agreement and might say, nope, not good enough, send it back. Refuse to accept it. Bring me something else. I don't know, but that could happen. It's not really expected to happen. But the bottom line is, honestly, the investigation into Hunter Biden is not near as important as the investigation into Joe Biden. And in that regard, there are a lot of new developments. Remember how Biden said repeatedly, time and time again, that he has never discussed and never been involved in any conversations with Hunter Biden about his business dealings overseas with some shady international partners.
I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
Well, that's not true. We simply know that's not true. We've got all kinds of evidence that's now falling into the evidence room that shows that indeed there were phone calls, there were plush dinners, there were this, there was that. But in fact, according to one count by the Federalist, Joe Biden allegedly interacted with his son's clients more than 200 times. So you can't say that anymore, which is why Karine Jean-Pierre has changed ever so slightly what she said. Remember, you've got the President of the United States saying this.
I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters.
All right, so she's saying, but now listen to what Karine Jean-Pierre is saying.
Chairman James Comer today says that the Oversight Committee, has evidence that the president in the past communicated directly with foreign business associates of his son Hunter Biden many times. Curious if the White House and the president still stand behind his comment that he's never been involved and has never even spoken to his son about his business.
So I've been asked this question a million times. The answer is not going to change. The answer remains the same. The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
Wait. No, hold on. Listen to her, because she changed. She says, no, it's, she used to say, no, they've never discussed. We've said this a million times. She did change the message. The message has changed. Now she's saying,
So I've been asked this question a million times. The answer is not going to change. The answer remains the same. The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
never in business with his son. Well, now you can wait. The conversations are going to go all about, well, what does in business mean? It's like Bill Clinton trying to define what sex is. Or saying, well, it depends on what the meaning of is, as he once said. I don't know. I see two things happening here. Either the lawyers have said to Karine, look, they've got him dead to rights. He met with these people. We should quit saying that. And so put it into the briefing book. This is the new thing. If you listen carefully, she almost seems to say the wrong thing and catches herself.
President was never in business.
The Kevin was never in business. There's new messaging on that. Let me read this. So again.
President was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, but and she certainly did change that. All right. So it did not go unnoticed that this little goalpost shift has taken place. New York Post columnist Miranda Devine remarks, so we've gone from I have never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings to the president was never in business with his son. Big difference. Soon they'll be parsing the meaning of in business. Eric Schmidt, Republican of Missouri. Very precise statement. Almost as if it came from the lawyers. Kevin McCarthy's spokesperson, Chad Gilmartin, says goalposts shifting. And he's right. He's right. Because we've got a lot of evidence that suggests that there have been some meetings. 200 and some odd meetings there have been. Here it is from the Federalist. Joe Biden allegedly interacted with son's clients more than 200 times. And it's all sort of backed up. On Sunday night, the New York Post reported on anticipated testimony from Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer. That happens next Monday. Who went golfing with the Bidens in 2014 and is expected to tell the House Oversight Committee how Hunter Biden put his father in contact with foreign businessmen and potential investors at least 24 times. According to the Post, such meetings were either in person or by speakerphone, with Hunter Biden often dialing in Joe. Beyond those meetings, there were more than 180 other episodes where the president interacted with his son's business partners, contrary to his campaign claims of absolute separation. And here are some of them. West Wing visits. Visitors logs show Hunter Biden's business associates visited the White House at least 80 times while Joe Biden was the vice president. This according to Fox News. One such visit included a pair of Mexican businessmen who visited the West Wing on February 26, 2014, were later photographed in the press briefing room with the vice president and his son. Another meeting with the vice president at the time included two Chinese businessmen connected to a firm Hunter Biden was invested in. In 2011, Vice President Biden met with 3 Hunter associates, including one foreign national, at the White House, according to emails published by Fox News in May. Hunter Biden's diary shows that more than 100 events at the vice president's residence, this is the Naval Observatory on Connecticut Avenue in D.C., occurred. 100 events at the vice president's residence while living at the Naval Observatory, according to the New York Post. Photographs from the same day as one of the meetings on the calendar for November 19, 2015, feature Mexican billionaires Carlos Slim and Miguel Elman Velasco. Hunter Biden spent years leveraging White House perks to pursue business deals with Carlos Slim. So you can't say that he didn't meet with him. He didn't discuss. There were plush dinners. There were golf outings. There were meetings at the Naval Observatory. There were visits to the West Wing. You can't say it because it's a lie. And they know it. And so now they've shifted their message. This story. Remember how we told you about the 1023 document and how it would it raised all kinds of questions about whether there was a this for that with regard to the Ukrainian company Burisma. In other words, did the Bidens take money in exchange for having Joe Biden, as vice president, get a prosecutor fired that was harassing the folks over at, they said, harassing folks over at Burisma. And that was what was in the 1023. Something, by the way, that the former vice president, now president, has actually said did happen. He actually talked about it. He agrees about it, that he actually got this guy fired. The Federalist has now learned that the Pittsburgh FBI office had corroborated several details contained in the FD 1023 as part of the intake process that former Attorney General William Barr established, etc. Blah, 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 blah. So, they got told, you can't use this. We don't want to go there. You can't ask questions about the big guy. You can't do this and you can't do that. And at some point, the FBI said, oh, well, what if we've already corroborated some of the allegations against the big guy? I mean, you told us not to, but we've already done it. See, if you've got Devin Archer coming in to tell the story, if you've got the 1023, you've got the IRS, 2 IRS whistleblowers, you've got an FBI whistleblower, other whistleblowers coming on board, and testimony from Devin Archer, you're going to put this all together. You're going to put this all together in pretty quick order. It's about to happen. Nancy Mace says that she's a member of the House Oversight Committee, and she says that Hunter Biden's best friend forever, Devin Archer, who will testify next Monday, will I think probably be the icing on the cake, I think, because it will prove the president was in the room for the deals that he said he was not.
Now, look, Devin Archer is Hunter Biden's BFF. He knows where all the bodies are buried, and I believe that his testimony will be compelling enough to show that Joe Biden was in the room during much of these discussions, during much of these deals. And my question for Joe Biden today is, if you did nothing wrong, why lie about it? And we got to get to the bottom of this. We got to get to the truth. And we have to show the American people as much evidence as possible, whether that's witnesses, documents, tapes, recordings, etc., so that they'll believe our investigation and what we've uncovered so far.
Well, hey, listen, so when you hear tomorrow that, Hunter Biden got a slap on the wrist, that's not really what it's all about. What it's really about is the I word, which is being uttered by the Speaker of the House on this matter. And I'll tell you more about that right after this break. It's 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We talk all the time about the diamonds at Genesis Diamonds. That's their specialty. It's not a side business. Genesis, it's the core of who they are. That's why Genesis has 30-plus year connections in the industry. It's how they can truly cut layers of middlemen and their markups. It's how Genesis can maintain a diamond selection that's up to 30 times what you find at other stores. This is a diamond powerhouse, whether you're looking for a half carat or a 20 carat. But don't forget, Genesis has case after case after case of exquisite fashion jewelry as well. Earrings, bracelets, pendants, bands, colored gemstones, gold jewelry, the list goes on. And Genesis has partnered with all the top designers in the jewelry world, top designers from New York and California, with handcrafted pieces, one-of-a-kind heirloom jewelry. And on top of all this, Genesis has one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in America. If you're dreaming of a Rolex, come see the pristine pre-owned models that they have in stock right now. Hundreds to pick from. Best part about Genesis, the people. Nobody's on commission. They work for your best interest, and they have a passion for making every customer a raving fan. Whatever you need in jewelry, this is hands down the best place to go. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, Cool Springs.
A former Russian prisoner and U.S. Marine now injured while fighting for Ukraine in their war. A self-checkout only Kroger and an abortion decision awaits in Ohio. I'll have those stories and more at 5:30. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, it's 26 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We've told you all the new developments, and there are many. The noose is tightening around the Biden's family syndicate. I mean, it's about to become unglued. Yes, I don't know what's going to happen to Hunter Biden tomorrow, and you may be really angry, and I'm already pretty angry about how that's likely to be resolved. But the real question is our president a crook? And the Speaker of the House says that he's been looking at all of the evidence, just like I've been sharing with you here, and he's coming to the conclusion that it's getting very, very close to impeachment time.
When President Biden was running for office, he told the American public that he's never talked about business. He said his family has never received $1 from China, which we now prove is not true. We now have some of the most credible whistleblowers. These 10-year IRS agents who have come forward said that the Biden family has been treated differently, that what Weiss has told us is different than what Garland and Weiss has told the public. And you're sitting here today where now you have found millions of foreign money, just what the 1023 alleges they did to Biden's family. Now we found that it has funneled through shell companies. If you're sitting in our position today, we would know none of this if Republicans had not taken the majority. We've only followed where the information has taken us. But Hannity, this is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry, which provides Congress the strongest power to get the rest of the knowledge and information needed. Because this president has also used something we have not seen since Richard Nixon, used the weaponization of government to benefit his family and deny Congress the ability to have the oversight. The Biden family runs, if they say, a company but never had an office and shell companies to be able to pay through. But if they really ran it for foreign countries, why didn't you get money from France, from Germany, from UK? Why does it have to be from China, Romania, in these countries that have real challenges and had problems going through? I believe we will follow this all the way to the end, and this is going to rise to an impeachment inquiry the way the Constitution tells us to do this, and we have to get the answers to these questions.
Well, listen, I did that, by the way, was on the Hannity show. That's why you hear the music as they were wrapping up that segment. But for the Speaker of the House to use the I word twice there, he's been paying close attention, as we all have been, to the testimony that's been coming out, and he's coming to the conclusion that we've got this case. We've got whistleblowers, we've got documents, we've got this, we've got that. This is rising to the level of bribery investigation. And he mentions Nixon and Watergate. I mean, if only someone had been telling you that this had the potential to be a Watergate-level scandal. Look, you're going to be frustrated. I'm going to say it right up front. You're going to be frustrated by whatever comes out of this hearing tomorrow with Hunter Biden. Likely going to be a slap on the wrist, but they played that game. But you know what? It's not over, because the real investigation was not so much into Hunter, but into whether or not money from the business dealings made its way to the current president of the United States, and whether or not when he was vice president of the United States, he was willing to do whatever it took to help out the clients of his son, Hunter Biden. The shift in language over at the White House is really, really more than just a little interesting, because they know they can't say the same things they've been saying. And now they're changing their tune. This is going to get interesting. Hang on, everybody. Impeachment may not be that far away, especially after they get the testimony of Devin Archer next week. 5:30 now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
30 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 93 degrees, a sunny day in Nashville and around the mid-state. It's going to stay that way this week. Complete forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. Still no word yet on the condition of former U.S. Marine Trevor Reed, the American freed from Russia on a prisoner swap last year, who's been hurt while fighting in Ukraine. Former CIA intelligence officer Daryl Blocker gives more information.
Being in jail for 3 years, he probably learned a lot about Russians and how they think, and he thought maybe combining, his experiences being in custody along with his experience of being a Marine, that would be good and valuable to the Ukrainians, and he probably was.
Reed is believed to be in Germany right now getting treated for his injuries. Right now in Tennessee, a Kroger in Franklin around Cool Springs will now be a self-checkout only store. The official change happened last Friday. Staff will still be in the store for anyone who doesn't want to or can't scan their items. And Kroger said that no jobs were lost in this change, and they're also planning to make this move with another store in Middle Tennessee soon as well. And in Ohio, it appears voters will decide if they want to make abortion illegal in that state in the next election. Andy Field brings us some details.
Ohio's Secretary of State says that an anti-abortion group that wants its state's constitution to ban abortions has come up with enough petition signatures to get it on the ballot in November. That announcement comes just 2 weeks before a special August election that has a question that would make it harder to change that state's constitution. Abortion rights groups urging people to vote for that tougher-to-change constitution law to make it tougher for an abortion amendment to pass this fall.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather upcoming. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing. They're your Rude Pro partner. Now, listen, if you are having difficulty with your air conditioning system, that just won't do. You got to get that fixed, right? So call the number I would call right away, 615-775-7833. That's what I would call. They will buzz over to your house and they will get you up and running. And they'll give you, all of your options. I just want to say that sometimes these systems, when they get to be about 20 years old, they do need to be replaced. And if you get to that point, they'll give you all your options. But, you're not going to find a better place to turn for replacement of your HVAC or plumbing systems than Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing. Now, you might want to become a member of the Beehive Club. I am 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems. One aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges, 24/7, 10% off all repairs. There's a lot of value there. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com. It's 37 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's just go ahead and make this a full Biden investigative hour because there's more stuff to talk about. Remember Hunter Biden and his artwork? And I'm using air quotes when I say artwork, such as it is. Business Insider has learned the identity of two of Hunter Biden's friends who were buyers of his art. Internal gallery documents show the sales of Biden art brought in $1.3 million. One buyer, whose identity is unknown, spent $875,000 on 11 Biden artworks. On the campaign trail, President Joe Biden pledged there would be an absolute wall between his official duties and his family's private business interests. The Biden White House repeatedly made reference to that wall when responding to questions about the fledgling art career of Hunter Biden, the president's son. In 2021, when a New York art gallery debuted Hunter Biden's paintings, the asking prices were as high as $500,000. The White House said the team had a process for carefully vetting buyers and that the identities were known only to the gallery and not to Hunter Biden himself. The messaging seemed to suggest that his art patrons came from a rarefied universe of collectors who had nothing to do with the hurly-burly of politics, but neither of those things has turned out to be a case. Hunter Biden did, in fact, learn the identity of two buyers, according to three people directly familiar with his own account of his art career. And one of those buyers is indeed someone who got a favor from the Biden White House. The timing of their purchase, however, is unknown. That buyer, Business Insider can reveal, is Elizabeth Hirsch Naftali, a Los Angeles-based real estate investor and philanthropist. Hirsch Naftali is an influential in California Democrat Party circles and a significant Democrat donor who has given $13,414 to the Biden campaign, $29,700 to the Democrat National Committee this year. In 2022, she hosted a fundraiser headlined by Vice President Kamala Harris. So she's connected. There's no doubt about it in high-ranking Democrat circles. Insider has also obtained internal documents from the Hunter Biden gallery showing that a single buyer purchased $875,000 worth of his art. In July of 22, 8 months after Hunter Biden's first art opening, Joe Biden announced Hirsch Naftali's appointment to the Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad. Very prestigious appointment. It's unclear whether Hirsch Naftali's purchase of Hunter Biden's artwork occurred before or after that appointment. Membership on the commission is an unpaid position, often filled by campaign donors, family members, and political allies. The same crowd that often winds up with U.S. ambassadorial appointments. Hirsch Naftali's fundraising activities mark her as the kind of well-connected donor who often wins such appointments regardless of any relationship they might have with the president's family. But they do not address the possibility that Hunter Biden might have voiced his support for her appointment. Well, did that happen or not? Did Hunter Biden weigh in with his father about the appointment for Hirsch Naftali? And did Hirsch Naftali buy Hunter Biden's art before or after she was appointed? Nobody is answering those questions. Another story, top Democrat donor who was named to a prestigious commission by Joe Biden was Hunter art buyer. Just, it's a coincidence, I'm sure, that she was appointed to a very high-ranking commission, a very influential, high-ranking, prestigious commission. And it seems pretty clear now that it may have been this woman who bought Hunter Biden's art. You buy the art, we get you a nice little position. It's a quid pro quo, this for that. It'll be interesting to see whether that continues to pan out. But I'm telling you, another example of just how these people play and how the game is played. One other thing that, as long as we're talking about the Bidens, We have to talk about this. If you or I had a German Shepherd, and that German Shepherd had a history of biting people, and it happened once, happened twice, maybe 3 times, that dog is going to be put down. That dog is not long for this planet. That's just the way it works. If you got a dog that bites and you can't keep the dog under control, that dog will be taken from you, and that dog will be euthanized. But if you're the president of the United States and you got a German Shepherd that repeatedly bites people, nothing happens. Biden's dog, Commander, terrorizes the Secret Service in an extremely aggressive rampage, according to emails. President's dog, Commander, nearly a 2.5-year-old German Shepherd, he replaced former first dog, Major, because Major was majorly aggressive, bit 7 people in a 4-month period, according to a new report. One of the more serious incidents involving Commander, according to the Internal Secret Service communications, first reported by the New York Post, led to the White House physician's office referring a Secret Service officer to the hospital for treatment after the individual was bitten by the dog on the thigh and the arm. Other emails released under the Freedom of Information Act to conservative legal group Judicial Watch revealed that Commander had broken the skin of another Secret Service member's hand and arm just weeks later, after Biden removed the leash outside the White House following a family movie night. Commander bit and latched on to a security technician's back at Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware. Back, Commander. Back. These shocking records raise fundamental questions about President Biden and the Secret Service, said Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. This is a special sort of craziness and corruption where a president would allow his dog to repeatedly attack and bite Secret Service and White House personnel, and rather than protect the agents, the Secret Service tried to illegally hide documents about the abuse of its agents and officers by the Biden family. It was only because Judicial Watch filed it that they got the documents. The most serious incident involving Commander occurred on November 3rd, 2022, when a Secret Service officer was seated at the bottom of a stairwell at the White House. White House came down the stairs, walked toward the officer, according to an internal agency email, before he bit the officer's arm on the tricep area when the officer stood up. Commander bit down on the quad muscle area of the officer's leg. One officer stated the attack victim reported a considerable amount of pain and used a steel cart to shield himself from the dog's attack. I mean, after all, if you're a Secret Service and the dog is biting you and the dog is grabbing onto your tricep and then into your quad, and you can't do what you would normally do in a situation like that. It's the president's dog. Do you want to be the Secret Service who took out the president's dog?
I don't know. If he's biting me, I might not have an issue with it.
Yeah. There's several stories out here about this. President Joe Biden's dog, Commander, bit or otherwise attacked Secret Service personnel at least 10 times between October 2022 and January, including one incident that required a hospital visit by the injured law enforcement officer, according to records released from the Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security. Conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch got nearly 200 pages of documents. Commander is the second dog to have behaved aggressively. What do they do to these dogs in the Biden family? Including biting. The first one was, what was his name? Not Commander. I forget. Major. Major bit a number of people. We knew that. So they bring in the number 2 dog. The number 1 dog ends up, I think, being shuttled off to a farm somewhere by one of his donors owned. One of his friends or donors owned. And then they brought in Commander, and Commander has been a terror. The White House and the Secret Service appeared to play down the situation on Tuesday, but the latest incidents raised questions about why the Bidens bought another German Shepherd to the executive mansion and why the attacks continued. But understand this, it's another example of a double standard at play. You got a dog that bites somebody 10 times in the real world, you ain't long to have that dog. In fact, if it were to happen in the real world, I'm not sure the dog would survive it 10 times. But if you are in the Biden family, you can just let the dog just, bite and chew and that is so very, very different, Chris, to my dog experience. I have a bulldog, a French bulldog.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not allowed to play that, but I can play this. That's what I get.
Yeah, not quite the same level of intimidation.
So at the White House, you get this. You get. That's scary. And at my house, you get this.
Oh no, I'm in danger.
I mean, there's no chance of you getting bit, but you could get licked to death over at my house.
Yeah.
But no, this is a serious thing, and it's sad that you got that they keep. Why would? And by the way, the second dog was a gift from his brother Jim. How is it that you get two German Shepherds that have the same issue? What goes on? I mean, these German Shepherds. If you get a police dog, they're trained to do certain things, but this just seems to be an ill-behaved dog, and not a well-mannered dog, not a well-trained dog. So how do you get two of them? For the president of the United States, seems like you could get a dog that would mind its manners. What is he looking for? Or what happens that makes the dog this way is the real question. What makes this dog this way? Well, anyway, 10 times he's been bitten. He has bitten Secret Service people or other personnel around the White House. I think it's time for Commander to go to the farm. And my dog needs to go to its crate. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things you hear me talk about frequently on my radio show that has been going for over 20 years in the Nashville market is that annuity sales are not necessarily a great thing for the end investor. Now, if you go to an investment firm, a lot of times you'll get that. The first thing that they recommend, an annuity. Banks and investment firms recommend these for one really good reason. And many times that reason isn't the best thing for you. It's commissions. It's a huge moneymaker for the investing industry. This is why I think it's so important that when you work with an investment advisor, that they not be paid on commission. It creates a huge conflict because it creates an incentive to sell you things that may not be in your best interest. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. We don't do anything on commissions. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Mental health care cost changes may be coming to America. An officer-involved shooting out of what they say was self-defense in Tennessee, a new monument outside of the White House, and a famous comic making their way back to Music City. I'll have those stories and more at 6 p.m. I'm Mac Morey here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it is now 56 minutes. You know, I've been listening to the commercials, and it's really exciting to hear how my colleagues here at the radio station, many of them have really started to lose some serious weight. I mean, I don't think I'd recognize Bell if I saw him on the street today.
Yeah, he's half his former self.
I mean, really, honestly, he's lost so much weight.
He's
And
just
Pamela
as irritable, though. I know.
Well, it didn't change his personality one whit, did it? And I see Pamela Furr, and she's lost 40 pounds, and then you got Dan Mandis, he's out there losing weight, but they all did it with a really good client and somebody that really knows what they're doing. I did it the hard way.
Yeah.
Down 41 points, 41 pounds.
Wow.
41 pounds. Woo. On the not so popular shingles diet.
Oh,
I don't recommend it. It's not the way you want to go.
Yeah, it didn't cost you anything, but
it didn't cost me. Well, it may have cost me a lot at the end. I'm telling you.
Oh boy,
not the way to go. But congratulations to those guys. Greatly appreciate it. Another hour ahead of the drive. Don't go anywhere. It is 57 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Let me talk about D.T. McCall and Sons. Listen, there are 5 convenient locations in Middle Tennessee where you can find whatever it is you want for your house. What do you want? You want furniture? Oh, man, they've got all kinds of furniture on display. Big selection of appliances, furniture, mowers, gun safes, whatever you want for your house. And here's the thing. If you're getting an appliance, how many times have you purchased an appliance and paid extra for the cords and the hoses, paid extra for delivery, paid for the haul away, and at the end of the day, you say, well, that really wasn't such a good deal, wasn't it happy? Well, at DT McCall's, you get free delivery, free setup, and free haul away. They give you an honest price, and all of that is included. You're not going to get that, in just anywhere, because DT McCall's is a family-run company over 100 years old. They have a reputation for treating people right. In fact, you don't get to be 100 years old unless you have that kind of reputation. They sell locally made products whenever possible, made or manufactured in the state of Tennessee. So for whatever you need for your home, you need to go to DT McCall's. Find out about their 5 convenient locations by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
6:01, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 93 degrees currently in Nashville. A hot week ahead. That sun will stay flying high. Forecast latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. A rule change. President Biden took steps today to make mental health care as easy to access as physical health care. The newly implemented rules would require insurers to clear up some things on how mental health care coverage is decided. And at the White House, Karen Travers tells us this is to enforce legislation that's already on the books.
According to the White House, they say the insurance companies have just been able to evade the law. There wasn't enforcement on the books, and it's hard to do that. It's a very complicated and clunky at times system. So what they're trying to do here now with this rule is to tighten up the screws a little bit. They're going to try to create more reporting standards so that these companies essentially can't get away with not giving the care that they're supposed to provide, not giving the coverage that they're required to. They're also trying to get more mental health care professionals to offer in-network care and cut through some of the red tape.
An active investigation in Tennessee. Channel 4 reports that there was an officer-involved shooting in Franklin last night. Happened around 6 o'clock in an apartment complex when a woman told officials that her ex-boyfriend was inside with a gun, threatening to kill himself. The man left his apartment while holding the gun, and police responded in self-defense. That man later died at Vanderbilt Medical Center. And now back in the nation's capital, President Biden today signing a proclamation to establish a national monument honoring Emmett Till and his mother, Mamie Till Mobley. Till was a black teenager from Chicago who was abducted, tortured, and killed in 1955 after he was accused of whistling at a white woman in Mississippi. Karen Travers.
Speaking about the new national monument to honor Emmett Till and his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, President Biden spoke about the importance of learning about the dark moments in this nation's history.
We should know everything, the good, the bad, the truth of who we are as a nation. That's what great nations do.
The president took a veiled swipe at the new education standard in Florida that would teach middle school students, quote, how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
Telling the truth and the full history of our nation is important.
And some entertainment news. Dave Chappelle is coming back to Nashville this fall. He'll perform at Bridgestone Arena Thursday, September 21st. And the pre-sale for tickets will start tomorrow through this Thursday. And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, it is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and this is the last hour of our 4-hour extravaganza for this Tuesday, July 25th. Mark Levin will take up the mantle. Is it a mantle that he takes up? I think we'll call it a mantle. He takes up the mantle at 7 o'clock after the news. So stay tuned for that. There are some stories. I'm leaning across to my printer now. There are some stories that are starting to land late in the afternoon that I think we need to share. I did spend a great deal of time in the last hour talking about the investigation into Joe Biden and how it seems to be picking up steam. Well, there are now some more stories that are jumping onto that. Here is this one. House conservatives hungry for Biden impeachment after McCarthy's comments, ground shifted. House Freedom Caucus members on Tuesday appeared eager for Speaker Kevin McCarthy to make good on his recent veiled impeachment threat against President Biden. One member of the conservative group of GOP members said the leader's word marked a paradigm shift. When he does speak to impeachment, it carries a tremendous amount of weight, and that's why I think the ground shifted on that a little bit when he opened up the door. Representative Bob Good of Virginia said, after a Freedom Caucus press conference on Tuesday, I don't think there's any question that him speaking to that has caused a paradigm shift. Well, what did he say? I've got it. Well, as it turns out, I have it right here. He does, on 2 occasions, last night on Hannity, raise the specter that this could lead to an impeachment inquiry.
When President Biden was running for office, he told the American public that he's never talked about business. He said his family has never received $1 from China, which we now proved is not true. We now have some of the most credible whistleblowers. These 10-year IRS agents who have come forward said that the Biden family has been treated differently, that what Weiss has told us is different than what Garland and Weiss has told the public. And you're sitting here today where now you have found millions of foreign money, just what the 1023 alleges they did to Biden's family. Now we found that it has funneled through shell companies. If you're sitting in our position today, we would know none of this if Republicans had not taken the majority. We've only followed where the information has taken us. But Hannity, this is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry.
The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
See, that's what you're hearing now from the other side. Now you're getting a change in the message at the White House. They're making the case that, well, we said that they never talked, they never discussed, they never met. Well, now that's all we know that happened. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that there were golf outings, there were luxurious dinners at high-level cafes and restaurants in the D.C. area. We know that there were phone calls where Hunter Biden would pick up the phone and call his dad and circle him into the conversations with his various clients. We know that there were 220 incidents over a course of a period of time where people who were doing business with Hunter Biden and his associates had a meeting at the West Wing or out at the Naval Observatory, all kinds. So we know it's not true anymore when they say that we never discussed. So now they've changed it slightly to say something different.
The president was never in business with his son.
Never in business with his son. Well, that's a very different thing, but what does that mean? I don't know, but I'm guaranteeing you that was lawyer-driven, ended up in the briefing book that Karine had yesterday, and I'm telling you, things are coming. Understand, I mean, when the speaker says, look, this all happened because Republicans got the majority and took back the House and could open up this investigation, he's right about that. Let's talk about all the things that have happened. And number one, you win the House. You have subpoena power. You set up committees to start investigating these things, and for the first time, since this all started, you now have the ability to demand documents and to compel testimony. And that starts to happen. Bank records start to open up. Whistleblowers come forward and tell you what was going on behind the scenes. And now comes all of this on Monday, next Monday, a week from yesterday. It looks as if Devon Archer is going to testify, at least for a transcribed interview that will be under oath. Hunter Biden's former business partner is scheduled to testify to Congress as lawmakers look to dig deeper into connections between President Joe Biden, his son, and foreign nationals. Devon Archer, the associate of Mr. Hunter Biden, is slated to testify for the House Oversight Committee on July 31st, the last day of the month. We look forward to speaking with Devon Archer on Monday about Joe Biden's involvement in his family's business affairs. The committee subpoenaed Mr. Archer on June 16th, has been working since then to schedule a deposition. Devon Archer believes strongly in the rule of law and the Democrat system and is prepared to answer the committee's questions, just as he has already answered similar questions from a federal grand jury, the Department of Justice, and several other government agencies in their investigation concerning Biden's family. There have been many leaks and much speculation about Mr. Archer's potential statement, but next week Mr. Archer will get to speak for himself. It will take place behind closed doors, but Republicans have been releasing transcripts of similar interviews after they take place. It's getting down to a really interesting scenario. Getting down to a very interesting scenario. What else do you need? When the speaker says that, we have to think about impeachment, he doesn't say that lightly. He's not been one to throw that around. But he's seeing what a lot of other people are seeing is that, the more we dig and the more we get into this thing, it's beginning to look a lot like that you've had lie after lie after lie that has been thrown out there by the Biden family. Oh, we never discussed business. Well, yes, you did. I'm sorry, you absolutely did. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know nothing at all, but you did. You knew what was going on. There were 220 meetings. You were involved in a lot of them. So you can't play dumb anymore, Mr. President. So now it seems to me that Devon Archer could be the person who helps them put it all together. He knows where all the skeletons are buried. He's ready to talk. Between the whistleblowers, you have, remember, 2 IRS whistleblowers, 1 FBI whistleblower. You have all of the ability to seek out bank records, which have been coming in. And by the way, there's supposed to be a whole new series of revelations in the next round of banking information about the LLCs that were set up, the corporations that were set up to filter the money back to the Biden family. And it's beginning to look as an awful lot like there was a this for that involving an incident that the Biden has even talked about. He talked about this, and this actually sounds like to me that this little clip, it's been out there forever. I've played it for you 100 times. Well, this clip may well be the thing that puts him under, because he's admitting to a course of action that it appeared his son's business interest got paid for to make happen.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. Said, "No," I said, "I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion." They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said. I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was 6 hours. I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So, to make sure you understand this, check that. Hunter Biden was a member of the board of Burisma. Burisma is getting investigated by a prosecutor who believes that there has been a great deal of corruption. He's trying to root out that corruption. The folks at Burisma want that to stop. So they reach out to the old man and they say, make it stop, Dad. You know, this is one of my clients. We need to make this stop. Biden comes in and puts a hold on a $1 billion loan guarantee that wasn't his money. It was your money and my money that was tied up there. He had no right to do that. He was simply flexing his muscles. And at the end of the day, he said, unless you get rid of this prosecutor, we're going to take our money and go back home. And then they fired the guy. That is a classic this for that. And the more we get into it, the more it seems like the vice president wasn't completely out of the loop on the things that Hunter Biden wanted. Hunter Biden wanted it. He prevailed upon the old man. Now, for all we know, the old man got some money out of the deal. We haven't been able to prove that yet, but it's entirely possible. Some of that money filtered back to him, the big guy. And he says, so Hunter wants it. The vice president is in a position to give it. This for that. You're paying my son a lot of money, and I'm going to take care of my son's concerns in this regard. And I'm going to make sure that prosecutor gets fired. That's blatant corruption. Blatant corruption. I just want to leave you with one thought on this topic, and then I'll move on. But you're going to hear tomorrow that there's a hearing where the prosecutors bring the case that they put together against Hunter Biden. It's not much. It's a slap on the wrist. It allows him to not do any time. The real felony counts were allowed to lapse. Now, you can ask questions about that. Is that right? It shouldn't have lapsed. In my opinion, it should not have lapsed. But that's the special treatment that the Biden family got in this regard. Hunter Biden is not going to be going to jail for any of these things unless the judge says, you know what, we've been raising some really interesting questions of late, and I don't think a thorough investigation of this matter has been done. I reject the plea deal. That could happen. I don't think it's likely, but I think it could happen. But one way or the other, if you hear tomorrow Hunter Biden has been sentenced and he's getting a slap on the wrist, community service, I don't know, something like that, picking up trash on the side, I don't know, whatever it is, don't be disappointed because that's not really where this thing is headed. Hunter Biden is not that important in the grand scheme of things. What is important is what former vice president, now president of the United States, Joe Biden did on behalf of Hunter Biden's companies. What did he do? Was there a quid pro quo? Was there a this for that? Increasingly, it's looking as if it's not looking too good for the old big guy as they get more and more information. So remember, that's the thing. You'll hear it and you'll say, I'm disappointed. See, nothing ever happens. It's not over. It's not over. Hunter Biden, from the very beginning, was not the thing that the House Oversight Committee was looking at. We had to find out some information about some of that stuff, but it's ultimately aimed at the current president of the United States. 21 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Nashville Armory ranges, 2 locations for your convenience. Let me talk about these folks. The Nashville Armory is located at 4290 Kenilwood Drive in Nashville. 15,000 square feet, which combines retail, classrooms, and, of course, pistol and rifle-rated ranges. So you can learn, you can become proficient, and you can stay that way. The second location is the Franklin Range at 390 South Winds Drive. There you'll find 10 state-of-the-art shooting ranges equipped with automated target control, custom shooting stalls that provide a virtually private shooting event. And the folks who work there, well, they pride themselves on having the expertise to advise even the most experienced shooters, but they also have the patience and understanding to guide those who are new to the 2A world. No attitude, no pressure. You're going to enjoy your visit. Gunsmithing is back at the Nashville Range. You're buying your first gun or adding to the collection, you'll find a wide selection of new and pre-owned firearm suppressors, optics, apparel, shooting accessories. It's the place you can buy. It's the place you can train. It's a place to become a very good shot. To learn more, just go to armoryranges.com. That's armoryranges.com, and please let them know your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you. It's 26 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. So I mentioned that we're going to have Hunter Biden go before the judge, and it's a plea deal. Supposed to be all worked out. Generally, this is a rubber stamp. There is the possibility, I suppose, that the judge, who I think was appointed by Trump, might look at this and say, you know what? There's a lot of evidence out there that I don't think got considered in all this, and I reject the plea agreement. That would be a remarkable turn of events if it were to happen. It could happen. It might happen. I'm telling you, it will send a shockwave through Washington if it does happen. But that's supposed to happen. I think it's about 9 o'clock Eastern Tennessee time tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock East Coast time. That's supposed to happen. There's one other thing that's supposed to happen tomorrow on Capitol Hill, and I'm not going to spend a great deal of time talking about it, but I am going to mention it because I think it could be very interesting and it could be eye-opening. Tomorrow, they're going to have a UFO UAP hearing on Capitol Hill, and they're going to hear testimony from some people who have seen things, claim to have seen things, and they're going to try to make the case. I mean, one hears that there's going to be discussion tomorrow about how the federal government has hidden away UAP vehicles that have crashed. In other words, they have UFOs in storage somewhere, and maybe even make the suggestion that there are remains. I don't know exactly what's going to come out of it, but it seems that one of the people who's testifying is going to make that claim tomorrow, and it'll be a big, huge claim. But I don't know. A lot of people are looking at this and say, how far is this thing going to go? Why are we still doing this? Why are we doing this UFO thing right now? Well, I mean, it's really interesting because it's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It is really interestingly a bipartisan thing, and this will be one of the times where you rarely have it, but you're going to have a bipartisan hearing where people are trying to actually elicit information so that we know what the truth is, or if the truth is really out there. You're ready for me, weren't you? I think it's going to be very interesting, and I don't know what we're going to get out of this thing. David Fravor is a pretty well-known guy. In other words, he was a commander of an aircraft wing, a Navy aircraft wing, and he actually was one who saw the Tic Tac, with the video that you've seen of the Tic Tac that goes very fast and does things that the laws of physics say are not supposed to happen. So I don't know what we're going to get out of that hearing tomorrow, but just go into this understanding that there are a great number of very serious and sober-minded people, not your whack jobs. We're talking like, okay, you're talking about like Tim Burchett of Tennessee, but others, I mean, like you got folks like Marco Rubio, take it for what it's worth, but the majority leader of the Senate is among those who now believes that we need answers. And when you look at it, it's some Democrats and some Republicans. Kristen Gillibrand, not a bomb thrower, just wants to know what the truth is. Well, we're going to get some of that tomorrow, and apparently the government is still refusing to provide documents or videos that the House is demanding, and they simply have said, you don't have a right to know. You don't have a need to know. We'll see how long it holds up, but it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. And that by this time we get on tomorrow at 3:00, we'll have the highlights of all of that and whatever happened to Hunter Biden. 6:30 now on Super Talk. Let me tell you about the folks over at Eurofix. I have exciting news for you. Many of you have lived here a long time. You've seen Eurofix grow here in Middle Tennessee. They've been around for some 24 years. I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, the folks at Eurofix are proud to announce the fifth location of Mount Juliet for Eurofix. That's right. Eurofix is now in Mount Juliet, on Mount Juliet Road, right across from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic who started in a barn in the backyard of a single-wide trailer grow to a company that has 5 different locations where they are repairing thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Just call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you. It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. So we're going to just wrap up the last few minutes of the show before we hand it over to Mark Levin with sort of a mishmash of stuff, that I think is sort of interesting. I don't think we have to have the actual, we love to do that, don't we?
I do.
You like it? Well, let's look. Yeah, because you get to push the button on the coolest sound effects ever.
Yeah.
All right, well, then we'll do it. We'll go ahead and mash them all together. None of this stuff relates one to the other. Interesting, I saw this little thing. It's just an interesting little note. Bud Light, and you know all that they've been through of late, will be hosting a series of free concerts as part of what it calls the Bud Light Backyard Tour, and the tour will include 4 cities, which include Nashville, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, and Charlottesville. Let's see. The Nashville stop takes place on August 10th, not that far away. Will feature the band One Republic. Well, that's not shabby.
I guess I'm
I
not
mean,
really
it's not
that
my
familiar
kind
with
of-
their work, but
yeah. Well, they did the song "Counting Stars."
oh,
And
okay, I do remember that.
Yeah. And apologize. You got to be 21 or over in order to win tickets to attend the event. The company is asking to visit budlightbackyard.com. Oklahoma City, Midland. I don't know. One way or the other, though, you got three of them happening here, and that's going to be. I think what they're trying to do is drive people back, and so they're looking at young people and say, I don't think young people are not as focused on this other Bud Light issue as maybe some of the older folks are. So maybe we'll just try to build a younger brand. I think that's what they're doing. I don't know if it'll work or not, but One Republic coming for free brought to you by Bud Light. Metro Council members.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Oh, yeah, we have to squish. There you go. This squishes right into that. Metro Council members contemplate the future of license plate readers following a pilot program. This particular story is from Channel 5's website, WTBF. Remember that license plate readers came in sort of a pilot program for 6 months. Now, since the pilot program ended on Saturday, Metro Council members now have to determine whether to maintain or continue the use of the LPRs throughout the city. The decision has sparked debates, with proponents of the technology pointing to the potential benefits and critics raising concerns about privacy and racial profiling. The Community Oversight Board conducted an analysis of the LPR data. Are they even in existence anymore? I can't remember. The COB's finding revealed that an overabundance of verified hits from license plate readers occurred in the northern part of the city. Notably, the heat map in these hits coincided with neighborhoods that are among the most impoverished and racially diverse in Nashville. Is that because they are they're doing racial profiling, or is that simply where the license plates got the most hit because they got people who were, not doing well by the law? Metro Police defend the LPR location, stating that they were strategically placed in highly trafficked areas with high crime rates. Well, okay, you got a high crime rate, you're going to get these cameras. Metro Police say the concentration of arrests in North Nashville could be attributed to fleeing suspects passing through multiple LPRs installed in closer proximity to one another. We have a big decision to make about whether to continue this program, but fundamentally I am supportive of it, says Syracuse. Metro Council members will consider the LPR legislation for the first time next week, with other meetings to follow. Look, I'm telling you, and there's no percentage in saying this because people disagree with me 1,000%. You have no expectation of privacy on a public street, on a public thoroughfare. You have no expectation of privacy. These things are not put in there just to track individual humans. They are put in there to track missing vehicles, license plates where you attach to people who have warrants for their arrest. All right, that's what this thing is for. There's been no indication that it's ever been misused in the Metro Nashville area. It's been used very successfully in Wilson County and other counties. Some neighborhood communities actually have their own systems that they use to track who's coming in and who's going out. So this is going to happen. I mean, the question is, are you going to say that you don't want the laws enforced? You don't want to crack down on crime? You go where the crime is, and if the things work, they work. And I think we're going to find in some places there have been cases where, you had major crimes that took place, murders, shootings, that kind of stuff. And within a matter of moments, you're able to track down the suspects because you got a license plate number, and you could put it into the system and say, we're looking for somebody who just took a bunch of, created a lot of violence in our community. I want that. I want those people off the streets, and I want them caught. And if a piece of technology can do that, I'm all fine. There's no indication that it's being misused just to find out what you were doing one day that they were curious about. It has to be attached to a criminal case. I hope they keep the LPRs. And I know that's an incredibly unpopular position, but that's my position nonetheless. I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I think it's good technology. Tennessee, yeah, I'm sorry, thank you. I was going right ahead there, wasn't I? Tennessee matches its all-time low of 3.2% unemployment. Tennessee reached 3.2% in June, matching the mark set in June of 2022. The rate had been 3.3 in both April and May, after being 3.5 in January and February. The national unemployment rate also dropped 0.1%. It's at 3.6. The state added 9,500 jobs between May and June, with the government sector having the largest month-to-month growth. That's interesting. The other job growth areas include the professional and business sectors as well as manufacturing. The state has 84,600 new jobs since June of 2022, with the largest gains coming in education and health services over that period. Also growing were the leisure and hospitality and government sector. Wow, 84,600 new jobs from the state. That seems a little high. I'd like to know more about that. DeSantis, I keep forgetting. DeSantis was in a car wreck this morning in Chattanooga. He's in the little motorcade. It's a short motorcade. He's not president. He's just a governor. So he gets like 4 cars, and he's zipping along in Chatty, and apparently there was a wreck. The good news is nobody was seriously hurt. This comes at a time when DeSantis has had to let go of more than a third of his campaign staff. So, not a particularly good day. He doesn't have the money to continue at the way he was continuing. He raised a lot of money, but he spent a lot of money, and now they're saying that more than a third of his campaign staff has to go as he resets for a different kind of campaign. And then this morning, separate and apart from all that, but still making for a bad day, DeSantis is in a car wreck. The truth of the matter is, I've been in some of these motorcades. The ones that I were in were much larger than 4 or 5 cars, but they can be dangerous. You're moving quickly through traffic. I mean, I could tell you a ton of stories about being in Bill Clinton's motorcades from time to time. There's one that sticks out for me that was South Korea, and we're getting ready to leave and we're trying to go to Air Force One from the hotel, and literally there was so much traffic on the road, and we didn't get like we do in America where we shut down the traffic until the motorcade passes. They didn't do that there. They simply just sent out a bunch of people on motorbikes and little tiny motorbikes. There'd be one person driving, one person sitting on the back of the bike facing backwards with flags.
Oh, that sounds safe.
Yeah. And so apparently we'd be driving along, and some people just said, I don't know what you are, but I need to get to work. And they just get right into the motorcade and zip right along. And then the little motorbike would come up, and the guy that was sitting backwards on the one would take his red flags, and he would motion people, you get out of there. You're not supposed to be in there, you silly goose. Get out of there. And the person would then pull out, and then the motorcade would tighten up. But I'm also, I remember a time where, there have been wrecks on many occasions where, these motorcades just, you're dealing with. In one case, I found out, I was talking to one of the people who was driving the press van. I said, how long have you been doing this? And, tell me about yourself. He said, I've never done this before. I'm just a volunteer from the junior college. So, you're in a motorcade with the President of the United States, and you're carrying the press corps and a Secret Service agent, by the way, who was always with us. And you've never done it before, and now you're going to be asked to drive, faster than the speed limit and not mess up. So I'm telling you that,
no pressure.
No pressure at all. And these guys, sometimes that you'd be shocked at how ill-prepared people are to be in a presidential motorcade. It was scary. Musk is saying that, thank you, that he wants to rebrand Twitter to X. We told you about this yesterday. And Musk recently explained why he decided to rebrand Twitter to X and noted that it's more than a name change. It represents his plans to create something known as the Everything app. What is an Everything app? I don't know. Twitter was acquired by X Corp, both to ensure freedom of speech and as an accelerant for X, the Everything app. This is not simply a company renaming itself, but doing the same thing, Musk explained in Post Monday night. The Twitter name made sense when it was 140-character, messages going back and forth, like birds tweeting, but now you can almost post anything, including several hours of video. In the months to come, we will be adding comprehensive communication and the ability to conduct your entire financial world. It sounds like there are big changes coming for what we used to call Twitter, but we now call X.
I don't know about that name. That just doesn't work for me.
And finally, the Kroger in Franklin will convert to self-checkout only. You didn't squish.
Oh, sorry about that.
Now I'm catching you. Those frequenting Kroger in Franklin will now have to shop for their groceries and bag them themselves. And apparently, this is what we're in for as we go forward. It is now 50 minutes and a few seconds after 6 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing. And that's something you don't get just everywhere. You know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. Smart Care plans start at $69 per month. You get unlimited office visits. I said unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. Because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. In conjunction with a high-deductible insurance plan, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City for 3 years running. Grace Point wants you to know they believe strongly in freedom of choice when it comes to vaccines for you and your children. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the things you hear me talk about frequently on my radio show that has been going for over 20 years in the Nashville market is that annuity sales are not necessarily a great thing for the end investor. Now, if you go to an investment firm, a lot of times you'll get that. The first thing that they recommend, an annuity. Banks and investment firms recommend these for one really good reason. And many times that reason isn't the best thing for you. It's commissions. It's a huge moneymaker for the investing industry. This is why I think it's so important that when you work with an investment advisor, that they not be paid on commission. It creates a huge conflict because it creates an incentive to sell you things that may not be in your best interest. If you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. We don't do anything on commissions. Or you can call 615-851-1950.